Hello everybody, I'm David Stone. I am your instructor for History 120 WLS1 for the spring semester of 2020. Not John Green. Assume that a lot of you or most of you or all of you know John Green from Crash Course. Word about him later. Not as fun or exciting as him, or probably not quite as intelligent as him. But you'll see some of him in the course. I'm glad everybody's in here. I'm excited. Looking forward to the semester. Big class. We got 30 of us in here, and hopefully we'll have 30 of us when we get to the end. Looking forward to a great semester. I'm making this recording Sunday afternoon, January 26th, so technically class starts tomorrow, Monday, January 27th. I'll try to get this up today once I get done. But just wanting to get some information out there. I posted a quick announcement Friday when the course opened. I think a few of you have looked at that, and I've already heard from a few of you via email with some questions, and I appreciate that. That's what I'm here for. Just wanting to touch base with some things. And in that first announcement that I posted, I referenced that I do have a welcome video up from last semester, fall of 19, and I'm going to go ahead and leave that up because a lot of what I address in there is pertinent. Just be aware that when I talk about specific dates and some of the things like that, disregard those. I think I mentioned that when I made the video at that point for that course, I hadn't opened anything up, and that's not the case now for you guys. But a lot of the information in there, just in general about the course and how things operate, and what I want to do and who I am, are pertinent. So I'll just leave that up. I may repeat some of that now, but mainly leaving it up so I don't have to repeat all of it. Maybe that's a little bit of laziness on my part, so please excuse me. And I'm just looking down at my notes. As I mentioned in there, I'm not a great video producer, and maybe would benefit from some EMP courses in doing all of this. First thing, Module 1 and 2 are now open. I had Module 1 up since Friday. I opened all of it. The assignments are up. If you haven't done it, that's fine, because technically we haven't started, but I want to put those up and have them open in case anybody wanted to get a head start. And I went ahead this afternoon and looked through Module 2. The best I could tell, everything looks good, and so I went ahead and opened that up as well. So if you want to get a jump start, and those assignments are not due until next week at some point. I'm just again looking at things here. Yeah, the first assignment for Module 2 is due next Monday. So you've got some time, and I'll talk a little bit more about due dates and how things are structured in the class. But Module 1 and 2 are open, and one of the items in Module 1 that I want to talk about is the icebreaker, and just some questions, some of them a little less serious than others, but just an opportunity to get to know you, especially since it's not a seated class. It's harder to get to know students. As I mentioned, that's the one thing I miss doing the online, but I found that there are ways to get to know students through online, through tools like the icebreaker. So that is there, and my vision for that still is, I haven't got to where my vision is for that. And what I'm offering is that you can do that in the form of a video, and I offered that last semester and only had a couple students take me up on that. And I did something that I know good teachers shouldn't do, and I made an assumption that a lot of students that are pretty tech savvy, but navigating things like Canvas can be complicated and difficult from what you're used to, and so a lot of people didn't, just because they weren't sure how to do that. I've added links to a couple of items that might be beneficial if you want to do the video and upload it. If it's easier just to do it in the form of text, that's fine. As I mentioned in the video from last semester, if you do the icebreaker in the form of a video, I can use that as the proctored event for you, and you'll be good. And everybody has to do the proctored event. I'm offering various opportunities to do that in the course. various ways to do that. And the main purpose for proctored events is for purposes of identification and confirmation of who you are. So it's not the term I want to use, but lost that for a moment. So, but mainly just to confirm your identity. So you can do that in a video if you it's a big hassle. Just do it text form. I learned the other day from the folks in the Center for Innovation. I think that's what they're called now. And I had heard about it, Flipgrid. So you may use Flipgrid in classes. It's not anywhere in any of the material, but I may just do a Flipgrid activity that's not graded. But if you do it, and it's a really simple thing to do, if you do it, then that'll be a proctored event, and you won't have to take a actual proctored exam. And I do have one of those scheduled as the kind of all else fails backup, and that'll happen in, I believe it's module 13 or 14. I'm just looking at my notes here. I thought I wrote that down. And what that would involve is either taking the exam via ProctorU Express, which there's a $3 fee, and is, from what my experience with it, is pretty simple to use. Some people aren't crazy about it. Or coming to one of the testing centers on campus and taking it as well. So if you haven't done one of the other alternatives before that point in the course, you'll need to do that so that I can give you credit. Just looking again at my notes. So those are the main things I wanted to touch on that I didn't touch on. Oh, the other item for the proctored event, the other possibility is just simply coming by my classroom. Make sure you bring your OTC or driver ID or driver's license. Again, it's not a big deal. Just taking care of bureaucratic side of things. But you can come by my room in Lincoln 122. Check in, and I put a note about that in the first announcement. For my class, I can take a second. I won't be able to chat very long, but I can take a second and say hey and confirm your identity, and we'll have that taken care of. The best times to come by are each day I have a break from noon until 1:50. Usually between noon and 12:30, I try to get out and take a walk and get some fresh air. You're going to hear the dog bark here in a second, probably because my oldest son is knocking at the front door. I told him earlier that I was going to be making a video, but pardon that if you hear it. I think he's getting let in. And you're going to hear footsteps here. Anyway, they may pop in. We'll see. Back to where I was. You can come by and see me if you'd like to. Lincoln 122. What I was saying, I have planned time from noon to 2 o'clock, but usually between noon and 12:30. A lot of times I try to go out and take a walk and get some fresh air and get some steps in, get the blood flowing, just to kind of regroup. So if I'm not around, I should be back pretty quick. And then on Fridays, as a middle college instructor, we have a little staff meeting. Usually we're done and I'm back in my room by 1:15 or so. It kind of varies. So just be aware of that, but you can come by, and I'd love it if you guys could come by and say hello. And also my last class ends at 2:50 every day, or excuse me, 3 o'clock. And I'm usually around in my room until 5 o'clock or so working on things. So if you want to come by in that time frame, my room is a little bit hid. If you're familiar with the first floor of Lincoln, it's kind of a maze. If you can find the vending area, you're really close. I'm hid behind room 120. The hallway I'm in is there are several offices in that hallway, and those rooms are 117A, B, C, D, and E, I think. So if you find room 120, or if you find the paramedic classroom with the ambulance simulator in it, you are really close because I'm just kind of right behind there. Do you want to say hi?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I need to focus on this.
Okay.
I'll get with you later. Go watch the Bears. Say go Bears.
Go Bears.
He's watching the basketball game. So that was my youngest son, Jimmy. Again, you'll probably see him pop in at some point during the class. But yeah, come by and see me. Say hi. It's getting a little longer than what I hoped for. I apologize for that. So I think touched on the major things. One other thing I'll mention that I like to do in the class is when news stories come up and things are going on in our world that we live in today that I feel are pertinent to things that we're looking at in the class, I will try to integrate those in. A lot of times I just make announcements, or I might throw it into a module and say, hey, check out this article. For instance, last semester there was an article that came out about a sword that had been found of William Henry Harrison, and kind of an interesting dispute about who that belonged to, but I shared that with students just because I thought it was interesting. But a lot of stuff going on in our world today. To me, one of the big reasons we study history is to understand the world that we live in today. And there's definitely a lot of stuff happening right now that's very pertinent to what we're studying about. First and foremost, but not just everything regarding the impeachment. And I will sometime here soon, it's not required reading, but just if you're interested, a lot of people having questions about impeachment and how it works. I'm not going to weigh in on one side or the other of that. But provide some materials that may provide some insight about the history of impeachment, constitutional interpretations, those types of things that some of you might find interesting. And if not, you can disregard them. So I'll put those up. But one of my hopes is, as a history instructor, I realize that most of you in this class, almost probably good chance that all of you are not going to be history majors, and I'm okay with that. I get that. But I think history, and I'm obviously biased in this as a history teacher, is important for us all to have a basic understanding of. But my point is, I'm not trying to turn you all into little historians. But I do hope that when you finish the class, that maybe you walk out of it with a greater interest in history than you had before, and are asking yourself questions, and that you'll continue to ask those questions and try to find answers through reading and other means, because it's an ongoing process. And I'll talk more about that later. But I will provide some materials, and some of them are just more on the light side. One of the things I learned last week was about the story of milk in the Senate floor, and I'll probably put up an article about that I thought was kind of interesting. Oh, one other last thing that just popped into my head, not in my notes. When prioritizing your work, and this may be in the announcement that I made for last semester, or the typed announcement, all of the stuff I put up in Canvas in the modules, pardon that little outburst. Hopefully that is over. One other item, sorry, that's thrown me off, is prioritizing. The material that I put up in Canvas, first priority. All of the links to articles and videos and those things, that's first priority. Also, there's a lot of times there's just not enough time to get everything in that I think is interesting and important. Sometimes I'll put things up that I'll say, hey, this is not required, but if you want to know more, you could read this, review this. So just be aware and read those things carefully. But that's first. Anything that's in Canvas, in the modules, all that's first priority. And then if you have the opportunity, the textbook. And I mentioned Launchpad in the spring semester. And again, I'm working on getting that set up. I'll let you know. But the textbook comes after that. And I'm not discouraging you. Please do use it as time allows. But I get, if you have to make choices, then you can skip that reading would be the thing that you would want to limit. So my 15 minutes that I have on my Screencast-O-Matic subscription are about to run up. So I'm going to wrap this up. I think we have a great semester ahead of us. I'm really excited. I'm excited to work with everybody, and I'll be communicating here soon.